Alright, in this screencast I'll show you how to add shooting to your game. So before we begin, we actually have to do a little bit of reordering of our classes over here. We're going to create a new subclass in the actor classes called bad guys. And what we're going to do is make all of our bad guys over here members of that subclass. So skeletons are bad guys. So we're going to go into the skeleton method, and where it says public class skeleton extends actor, we're going to change that to bad guys. And the reason why we're doing that is it makes your shooting code so much easier. So now that we've done that, and that really hasn't changed anything, we're going to go to the actor classes and add a new subclass called shooting manager. And in shooting manager, that's going to control all the code that will kill and check to see if people are shot in your game. So in our shooting manager class, we have to create some methods for this to work. So the first method we're going to make is we're actually going to make a remove method. So we'll go public void remove. And what this is going to remove is actually the bullets or the laser beams or whatever you're shooting in your game. So in my game we're shooting little lasers. So the remove class here will remove them from the screen when they hit the edge or when they hit the walls. So the first part we're going to do is if a laser beam hits the wall, it's going to make it go away. And then the next part we'll do is if the laser beam hits the edge of the world, it'll make it disappear also. So we will go actor walls, and that will be get one intersecting object. And in parentheses, we're going to say we want to only get objects that are in the platform class. We'll go platform.class. And what that'll do is we'll use this when my laser beam checks to see if it hits any walls. So now we'll go if, and we'll say if get x, and this is the x of my little laser beams that I'm shooting, is less than or equal to 1, or get x is greater than or equal to get world get width minus 1. So this basically says check to see if the laser beam's hitting the edge of the world. And if it is, what we're going to do is we're going to get the world, and we're going to go dot remove object, and we want to remove the laser beam, so we're going to say this. Close up that if statement, and we're going to say else if, and we're going to say if walls are not null, which means the laser beam's hitting a wall, we're going to say get world dot remove object at this. So I'm just going to copy and paste this here. So we will add that there, close that up. That will be our remove method. The next method that we need to make is a method that checks to see if the laser beam has hit an enemy. So we're going to say public boolean, and I like to call this one am I shot. And in parentheses we're going to write class like this, because we are going to just check to see if a certain class is shot. So inside this boolean we are going to say actor equals get one object at offset. And again, this is, we're going to use object at offset 0, 0, and then we're going to say class right there. The reason why we're using offset is so that we can say which class we want to check. And so after we do that, we're going to say if that happens, return that the actor is not null. Right here, semicolon, and then we can close this method up. So this method is pretty easy. The next piece of this that we need is a method to kill our bad guys. So we're going to go public void kill, and again we're going to go class so that we can say which class we want to kill things in. So we're going to go there and we're going to say actor, and that's going to get one object at offset again, and we're going to go 0, 0, class, so that again we can tell what class we're going to kill. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull the actor out of the am I shot. So we're going to say if actor is not null, we're going to get the world, and we're going to remove the object, and we're going to remove the actor. So this is actually going to take the actor that we shot off the screen. So we can close up this class right here. And then the last part that we need for this is a method combining everything. So we're going to say public void, and I call this one kill bad guys because it's just going to kill everything. And we're going to say basically if am I shot, and then we're going to check to see that it's the bad guys class. If one of those bad guys are shot, we're going to kill the bad guys in that class. Then we're going to get the world, and we're going to remove the object and put this in parentheses because we're removing this. And if anything else is happening, we're going to remove it, or use the remove method for when it's the edge of the screen. So those are all the methods that you need. Just clean up some extra spaces here. And now for all of this to work, in your act method, you need to call kill bad guys. So we're going to call kill bad guys, parentheses, semicolon, and just do a quick compile to check and make sure I have no typos, and we're good. Now, actually, the shooting manager doesn't really do anything. So what we need to do in this game is we need to make two subclasses called, I like to call one shoot left, and I need to pick the image that I'm using, so there's my little laser beam, and a new subclass called shoot right. I'm only going to work in the shoot right class. You'll have to use what you learned to make shoot left work. So in the shoot right class, remember, this is a subclass of shooting manager, so anything in shooting manager I can use in the act method here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first create a public void called fly, and that's going to make my laser beam fly across the screen. And so in there it's going to use set location, and we're going to say, it's going to say get x plus the shooting speed and get y right there. Now to use shooting speed, I actually have to make it. So up top I'm going to make a private integer called shooting speed, and that's going to equal something like 8. Just make sure it's faster than the speed that you move your player at. Your player shouldn't be able to outrun his own bullets. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call fly first. So we're going to go say fly. So when we make a new shoot left or a new laser left or right, we're going to make them fly, and then while it's flying or after it flies, it's going to kill bad guys. Just like that. And now I'll compile this, check for typos, and we're good. Now, if we run it right now and I shoot, nothing happens because I haven't told my player how to shoot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my player class. Alright, and then in my shooting class, or in my player class, what I'm going to do is we need to create a way to keep track of whether the player is facing left or right. And you can do this with a Boolean or an integer. I just like using an integer because it seems to make sense. So I'm going to make a private integer called direction. I'm going to make that equal to 1. And what's going to happen is in my check keys, if the player is moving right, I make direction equal to 1. And if the player is moving left, I make the direction equal to -1. The reason why I use 1 and -1 is to me it makes sense that the player's moving right, it should be a positive number because the laser beam will be moving in the positive direction. And if the player is moving left, it should be a negative number because the bullet will be moving in a negative direction. Also, I don't like my player to be able to shoot just continuous waves of lasers or bullets. So I also like to make a shooting counter called private int shooting counter. And I like to set that to something like 100 so that it will count down from 100. When it hits 0, my player will be able to shoot. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, in my act method, I'm going to actually count down the shooting counter by going shooting counter minus minus. Counting down would be minus minus. Animation counters counting up, that would be plus plus. Now the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a boolean for shooting separate of my check keys. So I'm going to create a public boolean called shooting. And in this public boolean, I'm gonna kind of incorporate the key down stuff in here because I think that shooting is a little complicated and I want to keep it separate. So I'm going to say if Greenfoot is key down, and I'm going to use X for shooting, and I'm going to put and shooting timer is less than or equal to 0. And I'm also going to add one more, and direction is equal to 1. And that's going to make him shoot right. That's why I use that direction. I'm going to say if all of that's happening, we're going to get the world. We're going to add an object. We're going to go add a new, and we're going to add a new shoot right. And we're going to add it at get x, so where my player is, and get y, so the y coordinate of my player. We're going to close that up. When he shoots, we're going to reset the shooting timer, so we're going to say shooting timer equals 100, and we're going to return this true because he's shooting. So then we can close this if statement, and then outside of it, we're going to say return false, because if he hasn't pressed X, he's not shooting. Now I'll compile this, check to see if I made any typos, and my shooting timer is red, so that means I probably spelled something wrong. And, oh, it's shooting counter. My mistake, so this will be shooting counter. And this would also be shooting counter. Sorry for that mess up. Compile that, everything looks good. It won't work unless I call shooting in my act method. So I press compile here. And now what should happen is if I compile this whole thing, and I'm just going to run it right now, run back and forth, so I'm moving to the right, and I press X on my keyboard, and a little laser is coming out. I can't press X continuously. I can only press it when it counts down from 0. So the shooting is working. Now I'm going to add a skeleton to the game here. And I'm going to press run, and I'm going to run away from him and shoot him, and he disappears. So that's how you add shooting to your game. You would have to go into your player class and modify that shooting boolean just a little bit to make it shoot left.